The Death of Night, a living novel. Every word written by a real flesh and blood human being. Now, walking with urgency, Mercury heads down the hallway to visit Azrael, head of the Archangel's personal guard. He walks in on the smallish-looking angel. Azrael looks up from a set of maps spread out on an enormous wooden table. "Dreta's taken off again," Mercury says to his friend. Azrael replies, "I swear, that woman is going to make me board up her office balcony. Come on, let's go find her." Without another word, the two angels take to the sky. They figure that the Archangel is back amongst the humans, probably walking the streets, tempting fate. From 5,000 feet, they can see almost the entire city. They methodically scan the grid-patterned neighborhoods looking for a blonde creature with wings, wandering. After 30 minutes or so, Mercury spots their target, talking to a young, nervous-looking human. He also spots a couple of the humans' friends hiding around the next corner in what looks to be a very stupid attempt to ambush the Archangel. Knowing full well that Dreta can take care of these three without trouble doesn't make him feel any better about her unauthorized travels through the city. He gestures to Azrael, who has also spotted the group, and they begin their descent. Mercury heads straight towards the man with whom the Archangel had just spoken, flying low and at great speed. He buzzes the man, who hits the ground hard, trying to avoid the oncoming angelic missile. Mercury then comes to a skidding halt directly behind the Archangel, whom, to his surprise, makes no indication that she is aware of his arrival. Just up the street, there are sounds of struggle isn't the right word. Sounds of a thrashing are probably more accurate. One after another, two helpless-looking humans come tumbling out from around the corner, landing in a pile on top of each other in the street. Azrael comes strolling out from around the corner to address the Archangel. "Are these friends of yours, Angela?" Azrael asks. She turned to look at him for a moment and just smiled sweetly. "Good morning, Angelo. And how has your day progressed so far?" It wasn't a bad thing he had done. They had tracked her down, but she knew what was most likely coming. She folded her hands together and held them at her stomach, watching Mercury. That same smile she used when dealing with most people seemed almost plastered on her face. "Friends? Ah, Tobias and his accomplices. No, they are not. Not yet, anyway. But I have a feeling they will be joining us at the manor soon." She looked at him, and then to the place she knew her guard was. "Did you need something, Angelo? Or could you simply not bear to be away from me another moment?" She almost lost the light smile and laughed, but figured that would get her lectured worse. "Honestly, you know I could handle them. All they wanted was a feather," she conveyed. The look on the Archangel's face betrayed her lack of experience with her new position. Somehow Mercury sensed that she expected to be admonished by her would-be protectors. Soon she would come to realize that her will was law among the angels. She could go wherever she wished, do whatever she wanted. We would advise her when asked and serve with her when invited to do so. But admonish her, we would never do. Still, all the angels had a responsibility to the office of the Archangel, and she would be protected to the best of our ability. "Angela," Mercury began, "I was hoping to find you well today. I bring a message from Metatron." She looked at him as he spoke. A true smile crossed her face for a bit before she turned slightly and spread her wings. "Well, I suppose we should be returning to the office. After all, if he sent a message, then something must be up," the Archangel remarked. She was not comfortable in her role, but Metatron knew best. He had chosen her for the job, though only God knew why. Her childish act seemed to fall away, and she stood a bit taller as she looked at them both. "Thank you for coming to find me, Mercury. Azrael. I would have returned in time, but a message from Metatron. I should have been in my office to receive it. I apologize for putting the two of you out, in having to come track down a wayward archangel," she said. She launched herself into the air, leaving behind her the scent of white jasmine as she rose swiftly into the sky, moving higher than she had before, the chill of the air causing the last remnants of her mourning out of her head. After all, it would be true dark soon enough. She settled back a bit in her seat, the look on her face very grave as she pondered the words her mentor and boss had sent. Her eyes closed slowly as her wings seemed to droop a bit. Shaking her head, she looked up at Mercury for a moment. This is most definitely not good news. But on the other hand, it was not the lecture I had expected on my behavior, Alexandretta observed. She turned from the desk, rising once more, her thoughts heavier than they should have been. She moved to the balcony and looked out over the lands she could see. She watched as darkness, true darkness, settled, leaving everything muffled beneath its blanketing grasp. She turned away from the balcony and looked at Mercury. "I will be back soon. I need to be alone for a bit to think. Nothing will happen to me. Just please do not let anyone follow," she ordered. With that, she launched herself from her office, intent on merely flying around for a while, until she spotted a small grove-like area near the great forest. She landed slowly and settled her wings behind her as she looked at the small waterfall and spring within the place. Finally, away from the conventional places, she lowered to her knees and closed her eyes, her wings wrapping around her as she spoke softly in her mind to the Father. She had awakened from her sleep, or shall she say, rest, finding herself in the crypt that she had been talking with Lord Targant in. Sitting up, she glanced around, feeling a bit strange as to why she was here and not in a home. She felt as though she had rested for several weeks, but why? She felt alone, not feeling attached to anyone. Carefully, she stands, a bit unbalanced at first, but gained her composure quickly. A small torch flickered, giving off a small amount of light, not that she needed any. Brushing off her leather trench coat, she makes her way up the steps, only to find the large cement door closed. Turning back, she glanced around, thinking to herself, why would this be closed? Turning back towards the door, she braced her hands against the door, pushing it slowly open. She knew she had the strength to push it open, but still, why was it closed? Stepping out into the darkness, she felt alone. Why was this? Slowly, she makes her way towards the castle. She felt nothing, no one. The building was in complete darkness. The sound of her boots beating against the floor as she steps inside. Closing the door behind her, she heard nothing but silence. Not even the servants were around. Dust and a few spiders had created a home for themselves. She steps into the large library, still nothing. She was feeling anger growing inside her as she reached her arms up into the air, screaming, "Why?" Falling to the floor on her knees, she knew that she should have tears, or sadness, human emotion, but she wasn't human. Sitting flat, she pulls her knees up towards her chest, resting her head against them, her mind racing with what she could remember last. Silence surrounded her as she sat in the library.